Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome to the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I'm glad you're here. And I got this lovely note on Instagram. I posted a stitch, I guess it's called, where you stitch in your thoughts about somebody else's content. It was a woman who was using timeout and physically forcing her child to throw something away in the garbage and telling him he had to be nice. And it was tough to watch, but I was trying to show a different way. And so I showed this idea of using clay and saying, oh, little boys who can't throw the fork in the garbage are going to get hugs and kisses from their mommy. And that when you connect with a child, you'll probably get more cooperation. So I got this message the next day that says, I'm sure you get hundreds of messages a day, so I'm not even sure if you'll see this, but I had to share. Yesterday, I saw your post with the mom and her toddler and the spoon and the suggestions you offered to use instead. This morning, my very stubborn 9-year-old woke up in a terrible mood and right before school decided she didn't want to go to school and yelling and in tears let me know she wouldn't go. I could feel the heat rising as I got flustered. We've all been there. And was about to begin with threats or consequences and remembered your video. So instead I said, I can feel my little fingers coming across to come and get you if you don't get in the car and turn it into a game. And in my absolute astonishment, it worked. Her energy completely shifted. She started laughing and said, okay, I'll get in the car. And the rest of the way to school, she was delightful and cheerful. It worked. Thank you. Sending love and deepest gratitude for the work that you do. Oh my gosh, I will love it. That makes my heart sing. I love it when people can make new connections. I love it we could do something a little bit different and we can shift and not use those punitive measures. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Such a lovely message to wake up to this morning. Now, so on the lines of this stitch that I did, now that I know how to do stitches, I'm going to stitch all kinds of things. It's kind of fun. But on this stitch I did, somebody said this woman was upset. And so I went to her page and she was, in her story really saying like, I tried. Well, first of all, she touts the things that she's doing as connective parent, as gentle parenting. And it isn't gentle parenting. She does things with gentle voices and she stays calm, which I commend her. It's very hard to stay calm with toddlers. She has 7 kids. But she says it's all gentle parenting ideology, and it isn't. But in the same breath, she said, I tried the things that these experts tell you to try because it sounds so beautiful and they promise you all these results, but you won't get them. I didn't get them. I didn't get the results. I didn't have, the house that I wanted. And now my kids have a morning routine that is seamless. They do everything that I say. They all get straight A's. Everyone's behaved. And I, get my toddlers to calm down by putting them in timeout. And I have the house that I wanted. But the thing I wanted to focus on was that she made the point that, the connected parenting, or we'll say respectful parenting or gentle parenting, doesn't work. And I want to tell you the things that I think leave us to fail in connective, gentle, respectful parenting and why I think that it, quote unquote, fails for people. And that I wish I really would, I think I might reach out to her and ask her to come to my Connected Parent Mastermind or group program and just to spend, a few times there and see what she thinks. And I think that if I could get her around these ideas or many people around these ideas as to why it fails, that maybe then they could push through to being more effective. So anyways, these are the things that I think contribute to the failure of connective, respectful, conscious, gentle parenting. Number 1 is expectations. I think our expectations many times, not all of us, but I think if you have this expectation, this can be why it might fail, but that the expectation is I should be able to do the thing, the consequence, the threat, the bribe, or the gentle parenting, the play, the empathy, or the whatever, and it's going to get the behavior to stop immediately. And I can go about my way. I can go about my day. I can go about my whatever I need to do to get done because I don't have time to worry about this behavior all day long. I need it to end right now. And conventional parenting, it promises you that. And in many ways, it happens like that. In many ways, you can threaten a child and they'll stop, or you can send them to timeout and they'll stop emoting, or you can, bribe them with something and they'll do as you ask. And so I think the expectation is that we want a quick fix. We want a trick. We want a tip. We want it done. And we want to tie a bow around it and put it away for the day because that's how it should be, because that's how we were parented and that's what the expectation is. And we need to have well-behaved kids and they need to fall into line and we need to have control. That's what this woman said in her story too, is that she felt like she didn't have control, that she wasn't in charge, that she wasn't the boss, and that she wasn't the parent. And I think that's another expectation that needs to kind of shift, or a mindset that needs to shift, that we're actually not in control. Nobody's in control of anyone else. Everyone can really have autonomy and do whatever they want. Now, when they're little, can you manipulate them? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Can you push them over the edge? Can you be forceful enough that, or make them fearful enough that they will comply? Absolutely. So, but will that last? And do we really have control over a child? Like I said to somebody today who was asking a question in our 30-day challenge, they said, I tell my child, I can't let you hit your sister. But they usually tell them that after they've already hit their sister. So it's like, sure, we don't want to let them hit their sister. We don't want them hitting their sister, but ultimately we can't control them from hitting their sister. They're going to hit their sister if they want to hit their sister. And hopefully we can move so that they intrinsically don't want to hit their sister, or they don't want to do the thing that is, quote unquote wrong, or that they have more moments of doing, quote unquote, the right thing or the moral thing intrinsically. So we have to really change our expectations. And the other expectation is that this is a process. A child is going to mess up over and over and over again, and that the punishment isn't going to be the thing that keeps them from doing the making the mistake. Because if it was, then we wouldn't have to keep punishing them if the punishment was working. We wouldn't have to keep sending them to timeout. We wouldn't have to keep taking the thing away. We wouldn't have to keep reprimanding them or rewarding them or praising them, that they would actually change immediately, and then we would know, oh yeah, the punishment worked. But it doesn't, because we have to keep using it. So I think that is another piece of it, is that it is a long and involved process. It's going to take years and years and years. And the expectation is that we have to have is that our child is going to mess up all the time, and that we have to keep coming with unconditional love, and we have to keep coming with connection. Okay. Number 2, I think we fail to use all the tools. So we'll pick up a tip or a trick, or I'll do this little thing. I'll use play and be silly when they're doing when they're biting. But I won't do it all the time. I'll only do it occasionally. I did it once and it worked, and then I did it the second time and it didn't work, so I stopped using it because it didn't work one time. Or we fail to use all the tools. We use empathy, but we don't use special time. We use the setting limits with empathy, but we don't use play. We use special time, but we only use it once in a while. We set limits, but we don't follow it up with empathy. We follow it up with consequences. So I don't think we don't take care of ourselves where we need to be. That is another tool of connected parenting. So we're not using all the tools as a toolbox, as a tool chest, as a practice. We might learn one little thing and use it, and then we might learn one other little thing and use it. Then we might learn a third thing and it doesn't work. And so we think the whole ideology doesn't work, or the thing that we used the first time doesn't work the third time. So we stop using it and we don't continue to try. We give up on it because we find ourselves having failure. And I think that's part of parenting. No ideology is going to be perfect. No tool is going to work all the time. And it will take practice. Are we using it correctly? Are we implementing it the way that it should be? Have we been using consequences and punishments on them for so long that it's going to take them a while to come around to this idea of connection? Are we allowing for that natural progression? This stuff takes time. And so we also have to use all the tools, and we have to use them consistently. And we're not always going to do that. We're going to mess up. We're going to forget to use play, or we're going to say, oh, shoot, I didn't use the setting limits, or whatever it might be. So I think there's lots of space to make sure that we are using all of the tools and we're using them as consistently as we can. Number 3, it's confused with gentle, connective, respectful, conscious parenting is confused with permissive parenting. People mistake the idea of letting go of control, and they misinterpret it as to letting go of parenting, letting go of connection, letting go of being involved, letting go of guidance, letting go of setting limits. And they let go so much that they become permissive. And then often, another caveat to all of it is they become helicoptery. So overseeing everything, making sure they're okay, never letting them fail, never letting them, fall, never letting them get into any sort of trouble, never letting the natural consequences set in. And they overparent them helicoptery, or they go so permissive that they let go completely and kind of let the kid run amok. But there's a happy medium. And this gentle parenting always gets confused and gets glommed on or gets, combined with this idea of being permissive. It is not permissive. We have limits, we have boundaries, and we really use natural consequences to their utmost, ability to help teach lessons. So it cannot be confused with being permissive. That becomes a really big problem. And number 4, sometimes people say, yeah, I'm like this woman that I encountered. She really touts herself as a gentle parent because she speaks gently. It's a little condescending and passive aggressive, but it's gentle. It's calm, I should say. It's calm. She doesn't yell. She doesn't lose her mind, but she combines it with punitive measures. She combines it with praise. She combines it with timeout. She combines it with consequences, and she combines it with shame. You weren't nice. You weren't a good boy. Are you ready to be nice? Are you ready to be good? When you're nice, you can come back. When you're kind, you can, return into my good graces or into our presence. And so even though it is gentle and it's spoken kindly-ish, it is not devoid of consequences. It is still using consequences and punishments and rewards. And she uses a lot of, and I think a lot of people do, uses a lot of positive reinforcement. Oh, good boy. Oh, you did a good job. Oh, well, I like how you did that when they do something good. And then oh, you're not nice, you're not kind when they're bad, quote unquote bad, when they have off-track behavior. And so I think you can't use connective parenting with also consequences because it's confusing and it actually doesn't work because you're not using connective parenting, you're still using control parenting. And so where you say you're a gentle parent, if you're using these other things, you're not really a gentle parent or a connective parent because a main premise is you don't use those things. And the whole methodology can't come to fruition if you are using those things. And the 5th one is, and I kind of touched on it from number 1, but we don't give it enough time. We don't give it enough practice. We don't practice enough with it, and we don't allow our kids to lean into it, and we don't allow them to push back against it, and we don't allow them. I mean, if we're using control and then you stop using control, there's going to be a period of time where these kids are really asserting themselves and finding out, what it feels like to have autonomy and control, and can get worse before it gets better. And you have to kind of lean into that piece because it's not easy for everybody to recalibrate if you've been doing something one way. And so I think really leaning into the idea that it's a long road and it's a long journey. Parenting's a long road. Listen, SB's 19, and I just said this in my group today, but she is lovely. I adore her. She's one of my best friends, and my friends adore her. She's a firecracker. And she's tough. She's not easy. She's sensitive. She's strong, and she has an opinion, but she's awesome. But she went to college, and she was there for her first semester, and she came home, and so she's been gone, and so it's me and Pia. Pia's pretty mellow. I'm pretty mellow. And we've got a pretty decent thing going on over here. I worry about Pia in other ways. Don't you worry. I worry about her not, having her feelings and stuffing things and not telling me everything, and just the opposite of what I worry about with this. But Esme came home for Christmas break, and I mean, you know how you have system restraint collapse, like when your kid comes home from kindergarten and they lose their mind? Well, she came home from 3 months of college, and I didn't realize this is a thing. She had system restraint collapse that was from 3 months of regulating with her roommate, with her new friends, with her college schedule, with her professors, with her whole thing. She had been regulating. And she came home, and guess who she unloaded it on? Me. And so I'm still using these tools, and this is still a process. And I am still learning. I was totally taken aback. I thought, oh, she's gonna come back a whole new woman. She did, but she was still totally dysregulated from her experience. And she had meltdowns, 19-year-old meltdowns. And it wasn't easy, and I was caught off guard, and I couldn't remember how it was, and I had 3 months of not dealing with this kind of, child, and I was thrown back in this, you know, dichotomy with her, and I forgot what to do, and I made a mistake, and I was like, "You have to stop." And I caught myself, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what the hell am I doing? I can't regulate because I'm not ready for this, because I'm taken off guard, because I'm not grounded and in myself and present." And so I'm just saying it takes a long time, and I don't think it ever ends. And these kids, our brains aren't fully developed until they're 28. And I don't even think that even after they're 28, they're still going to come to us with their dysregulated moments and their hard times. And, hopefully, right? Hopefully they do come to us. Hopefully they don't have the biggest tantrums that they're having when they're 6 and 8. But they're definitely going to come to us with their feelings, especially if you're doing this ideology. And so I don't think this work is ever done. I don't think empathy is something I'm going to ever stop using with her. And so I had to find my empathy bone again. I had to apologize for my bad behavior, and I had to move through it. But I'm just saying, this is a long road. So get ready. Get ready for it to be tumultuous. It's supposed to be like that. It's messy. Life is messy. Our house should not run like a military base, like this woman's wanting to, and what her house looks like. It literally looks like she's running it like a military base. I mean, kids are clicking things off buttons on a screen, and they're doing homework without even looking up from the paper, and they are like robots. And I don't have a house like that. I have a very messy house, and I'm happy about that. I really am. I have a messy house. It's not always easy. Sometimes I want a vacation from my messy house, but we're getting there, and we have good relationships, and they feel authentic, and they feel grounded, and they feel deep and bonded. And I'm grateful for that. So connective parenting, I think this is some of the reasons why it feels like it's failing, or it feels like it has failed for you, or it's failed for some other people. So maybe this resonates with you. I hope that this was helpful. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'll see you next time.